Together, right? But joining us around the desk now, Yannick Naud has joined us, a portfolio manager from Glendevon King Asset Management. Klaus Vistesen and Jens Lambrechts is still with us as well. Yannick, the sales successful this morning, would you say?
I think both auctions were pretty successful. I mean, Spain managed to raise a bit more than 2.5 billion. They raised 2.52 billion. The big to cover ratio was above 288. And even above for some issue, and France was marginally, the rate was marginally lower, I think 2 basis points lower in one bond issue. So all in all, a good reaction from the market. I think we're still seeing the effect of the 2 LTRO.
For how long will that effect continue?
Well, the LTRO it's a 3 LTRO. The important thing is to know how much cash is still available within Spanish bank or Italian banks. Spanish bank probably took between 200 billion to 230 billion from the 2 LTRO. People estimate that 89 to 90 billion is still available right now. So it's more than enough to pay for most of the new issue from the Spanish government and probably the Spanish bank refinancing as well.
I think there's a couple of things really coming together here, right? There's, on the one hand, there is the fact that the LTROs by itself provide enough money with the banks to buy these bonds. The question is if they really want to. Some have clearly made some decision to do so, but on the whole it doesn't look like they're very enthusiastic. And this is not strange because essentially they're taking a page out of the MF Global trading book if they are willing to double up. And they don't want to really double up. We don't want them to double up because then it becomes increasingly difficult to distinguish between the government and the banks. They become one and the same, and that's really where there's a problem. But there's another thing also happening in Spain, in Italy, and that's de-euroization. We've been writing about this. It's essentially that more and more bigger share of these bonds gets purchased by the domestic banks, and that makes it easier to break off little elements of the Eurozone to begin with. It also concentrates that risk, and it means that the LTRO and the domestic input, as it may give, is fighting up against foreigners leaving these countries.
Does it lead to a type of an unhealthy codependency though? I mean, if the banks are looking at
in Spain, probably around 70% of bondholder purchase of bond are domestic player, as my colleague said. In France, for example, it's the opposite. 70% of bondholder are foreign bondholder. If we have a market where more and more bondholder are domestic bondholder, it means that the relationship between bank and government will be closer and closer, more and more interlinked. And if the one domino fall, everything will fall.
Yeah, this was the point I think I would make as well. But another interpretation here is that it's a bet on an eventual euro breakup. If you hold only your own government bond debt as a bank, you you won't get hosed on the currency. So in that sense, what we're seeing is perhaps it's the ECB, in the sense that the ECB is aiding and abetting this process. It's certainly not conducive for sort of a safe and sound Eurozone going forward. I point out that in Spain, I think the economy is still in a world of trouble. I think that the data shows and the forward-looking indicators shows us that the banks will have a lot of drawdown still to do in terms of their residential mortgage-backed securities, and the economy is not going to grow this year. It's probably not going to grow next year. So I think there's still going to be more liquidity needed by the ECB.
Yannick, we can't let you go without asking you your thoughts on the upcoming French election. We know that you're an aspiring politician. Yes. You're standing for office very shortly. What impact do you expect market-wise from the second round of the presidential election? You should declare your own allegiances as well, or it's all
I'm independent because I'm neither from left or neither from right. Yesterday we had a big debate in France, Nicolas Sarkozy versus François Hollande. Nicolas Sarkozy was supposed to be a bit better than François Hollande in terms of debate. In fact, it was not the case. François Hollande did hold his ground pretty well, and I think now in the poll he still have a 10% lead or 8% to 10% lead. So he's the most likely person to be elected. So far today, at least the result of the auction were pretty good, but we have to still underline the fact that François Hollande is not for an austerity budget. He wants to push growth. He wants to hire tens of thousands of new public servants.
Yeah.
So,
Yannick, we're going to continue the discussion after the break on the French elections. Also, just get your thoughts on where value is in the current bond markets as well. So you're all staying with us. Coming up right here on Strictly Rates, we're going to ask what the chances are, again, for the French President Nicolas Sarkozy from pulling out on top of yesterday's TV poll. We're going to continue that discussion. Of course, more strategy chat as well. And where would you put your money at the moment?